Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. Now, just like I did yesterday for India, how much could China pump cryptocurrency? Now, China's calculations are really kind of strange because when we think of America, we think one person's salary, disposable income, maybe family disposable income, every family unit, like once you are 18 and out of the house, or 22, or whenever you get out of the house, you are economically independent from your parents. That's not true in China. In China, basically what happens is when the child gets married, the parents actually save up and buy them a house, which is really a flattened apartment. And then, as the parents get old, the child is expected to take care of the parents. So it's all interconnected in China. It's much more of a family like unit than it is here in the States. But that's like nearly impossible to calculate based on several factors. So we're going to assume that it is more of like a states type of calculation where like people are single, they have X amount of salary per month. That data we can actually get. We're going to use the city of Nanjing for our base calculation because that's like, I would say that's kind of like a medium class city where it's not too expensive but not too cheap either. And a lot of the China's population is becoming urban. I know rural workers don't make nearly as much, but a lot of China's population is actually becoming urban. So I think Nanjing is actually a pretty good starter for this. Now, there is a caveat that some jobs, especially if you're like placed there by a company, they will give you a housing allowance in that area. So the calculations might be a little bit off because of that, but most people aren't in that type of position. So we're basically going to assume that you're paying for rent. Most people do buy in China; they don't rent. Most people, yeah, and usually, like I said, their parents buy their place for them, and then you take care of your parents when you get older. But we're going to assume those costs kind of even out, like you taking care of your parents versus you having to pay for rent and stuff like that. So we're going to assume all that actually essentially evens out, and we're just going to be like single person, rent, and costs. So in Nanjing, China, there's a lot of sources for salary. So a lot of sources for salary and information about how much each person makes. A lot of the sources are bullcrap. Like one of them had like the average worker in Nanjing making like 4,000 US dollars per year per month. That's total bullcrap. I know that's not true. I think the best estimate I can come up with, pulling various sources together, is an average worker in Nanjing makes about $1,100 per month in terms of US dollars. That's about the average. And a single person's monthly cost without rent is $518. That's food, transportation, clothing, miscellaneous, medical bills, all that other stuff. Rent in Nanjing, like average rent, I would say is about $350 per month. That's not like a high class place in the city center. That is just a regular, a regular flat that you can buy. That's kind of close to where you work, kind of close to the city center. About $350 US per month. For translation, that's about 2,500 RMB per month for rent. And I think that's fairly accurate for Nanjing. Beijing's a lot higher, and Hong Kong obviously is going to be super high. But we're just going to use Nanjing because it's more of an average city than Beijing or Hong Kong. So total costs for a person, if they're actually paying rent and food by themselves, is about $868 per month. Now that leaves roughly $232 to actually invest. Now, obviously, if you're like a single person, you're probably putting away some money for your kids, like college, and obviously you're going to have to buy them a house later on because that's just how the Chinese society works. So you're not going to invest a lot of that $232 in cryptocurrency, not all of it at least. I mean, you're probably going to invest some of it. So let's just follow our Indian example yesterday and say 10%. Now that's about $23 per person. China has 1.428 billion people. Now, not all of them are working class. I think the proportion of working people in China is actually slightly higher than India because of the one child policy that's sort of still carried through, but they're actually relaxing right now. So there's not as many kids, I don't think, in China as in India. So essentially, we're going to say like there's about 800 million, like working age people in China out of the 1.428 billion. I think that's fair. And they invest about, let's say, $25 per month in cryptocurrencies. That's 10% of their disposable income. Now, this is if China opens up. I know I know Chinese people are really, really willing to gamble on this stuff. That's actually why they outlawed all casinos in China because they know like everyone would become degenerate gamblers, and that would cause economic downfall for a lot of families. So at $25 per month, at that's about 10% of their disposable salary that they have left over. At 800 million, that's roughly $10 would be 8 billion, $20 would be 16 billion. 25, that'd be $20 billion coming into crypto possibly per month. Now obviously the number's not going to be that high because not everyone's going to invest in crypto, but I think that's like a possible number if the country gets behind it. Now if only 10% of people get behind it, that's only roughly $2 billion in crypto. And even at $2 billion per month coming into crypto, that could really skyrocket crypto. Think about it, a couple $100 million coming into Bitcoin can actually fluctuate it down and up a lot. But if you have a consistent $2 billion coming in from China per month into crypto, that could really take it up quite a lot. Like I think within months, you'd easily double or even triple the price of Bitcoin. Now, I know Bitcoin has several $100 billion in market cap, but let me remind you again that that doesn't mean there's several $100 billion in crypto at all. That's not how it works. A sudden injection of $1 billion or $2 billion can easily push up crypto uh, probably several thousand points. So the thing is, if China opened up, it would actually pump up, I would say, the price of Bitcoin about 2 or 3 times faster than India, with about 2 or 3 times the magnification. Because Chinese people overall, the salary in China, the average salary in China is about 3 times higher than it is in India. Obviously, the costs are much higher, and China's a lot more urbanized. Their network is a little better. China is more modernized right now. Now, India is catching up. A lot of people say that India is like China back in the 90s, and they'll industrialize faster than China did in 30 years. But China is still pretty far ahead right now in terms of industrialization, in terms of like people with money. And yes, the Chinese, like the American economy, the Chinese wealth is more concentrated towards the top. It's actually even more concentrated towards the top than American, and there is a lot of government corruption. But regular people, the salary of regular people has been going up drastically in the last 20 years to the point where they're definitely not a first world country yet, but they do have the average person could have some leftover money to invest in crypto. And from experience, I know Chinese people, if they were actually allowed, would actually invest in what they deem as something that can make them really rich, and they are going to be really hard on about it once that actually becomes available. So I think essentially, if China opens up within a year or two, if Chinese people really start investing in crypto, they could probably triple or quadruple the price of Bitcoin. And that's very sad because China, I don't think, is opening up broadways to cryptocurrency investment like India is. They're going to be very restricted. They're going to start with OTC, but maybe in 2 or 3 years, China will open up, and that's what's going to trigger the bull run. So like if China opens up, I think within like 2 years, Bitcoin could easily be at 50, 60,000, probably more if there's an overall FOMO run, probably even above 100,000 if China opened up. So let's just hope that God Emperor Xi Jinping sees the merits of this and he actually opens China up to cryptocurrency, because that might make us really rich, especially those of us who invested in VeChain or other Chinese coins. So that is the information for today. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.